You ever feel like games control us more than we control them? Objectives are given for almost any video game. Without that sense of direction, we would be aimless. We need a story to follow, goodies to collect, and checklists to complete. It can begin to feel like we aren't allowed to exist in a video game for the sake of it. Minecraft was once a game with no defined endpoint. Its goals were your goals. It's the core essence of its appeal for me, but even it eventually received an ending. After all, how could it even be a video game otherwise? Ironic, then, that it almost never comes to mind when I think about Minecraft. Minecraft's legacy has nothing to do with the Ender Dragon, and everything to do with what people made of it. The impossible creations and unique stories its players crafted with nothing but a block of wood, a dream, and perhaps even each other. Mario Kart shares a similar spirit, though its courses are highly curated set pieces with tight lines and shortcuts to be exploited by skilled players. Ultimately, the story of your race is written by the players you interact with. Every clutch mushroom victory and crushing blue shell defeat will play out differently each time, and that oft divisive element of Mario Kart is part of its staying power, to clutch joy from the jaws of chaos. That was the vision which led to Super Mario Kart. Miyamoto wanted to make a game like F-Zero that was built for multiplayer. In order to facilitate that kind of environment, the tracks naturally became much simpler. From its inception, Mario Kart has been an extremely casual racing game that fights against skilled players. Most of its core features, like the items, were designed to be unfair to level the playing field. Mario Kart World is the apex of this anarchy. It's bigger and bolder. It is at once more accessible and harder to master than any Mario Kart before it, giving its hectic races much more room to breathe on the open road. It's an empty world with nothing to do, no one to talk to, and no route to follow. As it is the foundation from which its modes branch off, they are henceforth poisoned by its sickly roots. Most egregious of all, it's straight during Pride Month. Mario Kart's world is aimless. No one is here to define your experience other than you, and it's exactly why I'm beginning to believe it's the best entry in the series. I will admit that open-world Mario Kart did not initially appeal to me at first blush. Unlike Zelda, the transition did not seem intuitive. I'm not drawn to it as a world in the traditional sense. There's no reason for it to exist other than to facilitate races. Despite so many characters walking around, the faintest suggestion of people living here, it's tough to envision this as a livable space. I also do not think this should inherently be the goal of every open world. Immersion seems to be the aim of the genre. To create an open world is to remove what was once unknowable, like gaming's arms race towards lifelike characters and environments. This structural shift is often meant to achieve a sense of verisimilitude. Characters move like you would expect a human to move, and they explore spaces that look and feel increasingly like our own natural wonders. The more barriers you break down, the closer you mimic reality. Even open-world racing games like Forza Horizon are built to be graphical powerhouses set in virtual recreations of places like Mexico with real cars. That doesn't mean it can't have its own fun, and I doubt anyone really takes Forza Horizon very seriously. Nevertheless, it's hard for me to cleanly fit Mario Kart World into any of these categories. Instead, I liken this space to a comically large jungle gym. You use your movement tools to traverse obstacles in the same way you would in a collectathon platformer, except in this case, you lack the same ease of control. Platformers like Super Mario 64 are relatively straightforward. You're given several different variations on the jump, stringing them together to reach new areas. Since its release, games like Pseudo Regalia have pushed this format of play further, adding more moves to synergize with the basic jump. You choreograph a kinetic dance of kicks and hops that are incredibly satisfying to pull off. Movement is key to why I love them so much, not necessarily the challenges in front of you. I make my own objectives a lot of the time. With the tools available to me, I feel like I should be able to get up there, and so I figure out my own way to make that work. Mario Kart World comes from a genre that's much more limited. Karts are stiff and heavy, so you might think that it doesn't lend itself very well to the design of a platformer. You're invited to scale large buildings or monuments in these intricately detailed areas the same way you would in a platformer. That once straightforward task morphs into a puzzling problem. Jumping requires a lead up to build speed, as you need to charge it and release for what amounts to a short hop. That move alone will get you nowhere. Chaining it with other tech like wall riding is key, which has its own limitations. As soon as you latch onto a wall, you will travel quickly along it in a straight line. Control over this may as well not exist, besides a slight correction up or down. You're allowed to detach, but it requires jumping off, which will trigger a mini turbo boost upon landing. This means you need to be conscious of where you're landing, since you can't simply disengage with a wall and expect to stay put. Rail grinding is similar in that way, and you frequently need to combine these techniques in order to reach devilishly placed peach medallions. Like collectathon platformers though, the medallion itself is not the reason I feel compelled to do this. Many of the places I wanted to reach had almost nothing waiting for me, besides a stash of coins as an acknowledgement. It's a strikingly similar approach to Super Mario Odyssey. Once you'd mastered those moves, you could end up anywhere your heart desired. Most of the time, the reward was found in the satisfaction of completing the challenges I created for myself. Many of my treasured nostalgic memories with that game, and those of its breed, have nothing to do with the collectibles themselves as much as what they inspire. Bumbling around and seeing what I can get away with is largely where I land with Mario Kart World as a whole, a quality some find unsettling. For me, it fits the series like a glove, as someone who's connected with the core driving of the games more than even the tracks themselves. It's the same reason I love skating in Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. I'm on record saying that while entertaining, I didn't give a rat's ass about the main objectives of that game, beyond them being the barrier I needed to clear to unlock more levels. Half the time I would have so much fun racking up trick combos and flying around the level that I'd forget what I was even supposed to be doing. I'd often play Mario Kart World the same way. I'd drop into an area and drive towards whatever I found the most interesting at any given moment. Perhaps that's why I don't share the same qualms folks have with its alleged lack of stuff. I have not been hounding down collectibles when I explore. A lot of it has been mastering the movement and building a mental map of its landmarks and highways. Driving around this world is meditative for the same reason exploring Hyrule was in Breath of the Wild. Commonplace is the checklist of objectives and waypoints to make it as easy as possible to complete everything. I like that Mario Kart has made a conscious choice to avoid this impulse. It only shows you how many question block tiles you're missing. Everything else is unknown. Decide what you're going to do for yourself. It's the same bold philosophy that makes or breaks Tears of the Kingdom for so many people. It's why I think Nintendo are the kings of the open world at the moment, since they're so willing to buck the trends weighing the genre down, no matter how many people they turn off. For players who want to track their progress and unlock everything as soon as they can, this game will feel like rubbing against sandpaper. There's not even the hint of a completion reward, which is part of what made unlocking Mirror Mode so surprising. I actually have a story about how I unlocked Mirror Mode. An oasis in the desert of a media landscape where all must forever be known. For a little while, no one knew how to unlock Mirror Mode. There were guesses, Reddit threads full of people comparing their experiences. I'll never forget the cutscene that plays after completing the Special Cup again. Some of my closest friends and I saw it during my bachelor party. None of us even knew it was in the game before that point. I just wanted to show them the new Rainbow Road. It reminded me of fun playground mysteries we'd all share in an age where playing a game was like making sense of a historical artifact. I haven't yet unlocked every character or costume, since I'd rather stumble upon it all organically. I'm still running into some that I forgot were in the game from a stray burger or Kamek. They make it very hard to bum rush all of your unlocks, which made me not want to bum rush all of my unlocks. Why not just play with what I got and have fun, the game asks. Evidently, this is a question many do not appreciate. Up until now, I've been talking about the new free roam mode. Here you get to explore the world at your leisure, dictating your own pace and objectives. This is still a Mario Kart game, which means it also has a Grand Prix mode. You would think this is where a classical Mario Kart experience is found, but that's not quite the case. You cannot escape this open road, no matter where you go. Your first race in a Grand Prix is a 3-lap track, as has always been the case. You then transition from said track towards the next one. These long stretches of highway are a lot less involved than a typical racetrack, reminiscent of courses like Toad's Turnpike or Moonview Highway, where avoiding oncoming traffic and other obstacles is of paramount importance. This means that for many classically built tracks, you only get to drive on them for a climactic final lap. I can understand a certain amount of hesitation for competitively minded players who like to grind out time trials and learn shortcuts, especially in a game where track design leans so hard into your new freedom of movement. There are some insane cuts you can take if you're skilled enough. While connected courses do have shortcuts, many of their stretches are more about dodging items and obstacles. Each one has a slightly different layout and theme. Some of them throw a bunch of bananas and bombs at you during a turn, complicating what would otherwise be a simple drift line. Maybe you'll ski down a snow slope that broadens into several wide paths reminiscent of Mount Wario. A few of them have segments that recreate SNES courses like Ghost Valley and Choco Island. Should you go from DK Spaceport to Peach Stadium, you'll be dodging barrels from Robo DK and then jumping into boats and helicopters across the water. While these in-between routes are simpler in many cases, there are so many of them with so many variances that their nature is far more unpredictable. Race on a normal course a few times and you'll have seen it all. Drive up to the course and suddenly you potentially have 8 different races on your hands. Will you front-run the Twilight Highways, doing whatever you can to stay out of the chaotic pack and give yourself an advantage on lap 3? Will you take wider lines, grind on the many telephone wires and guardrails that are a little slower, keeping you away from the item carnage? Could even decide that you don't want to deal with any of that, take a lower place, have a pleasant stroll through the scenery, and hunt for powerful comeback items. Though you have always been able to craft your own Grand Prix in the Versus mode, there never felt like much of a point when every track was disconnected. Now that you need to travel from one to the other, the possibilities for a Grand Prix you could create are nearly endless. The main ones don't even cover a fraction of what's possible with the system. Approaching Moo Moo Meadows from Mario Circuit means that you'll be racing the final lap in reverse, completely changing the potential cuts you take. Several courses like Mario Bros. Circuit and Peach Stadium have alternates like this, rewarding knowledge of the world's layout. Shy Guy Bazaar has a completely new section to it. Part of the reason I haven't gotten sick of online races yet is that I swear I keep finding new races I've never seen before. One travel course had us all suddenly swept up by a tornado into a glider in the desert. Leaving Dino Jungle towards Faraway Oasis sees the dinos burst out from the course and trample over the open road. There are cute little alligators in the savannah portion which fling you into the air. It's also clear to me that the courses were designed with this format in mind. DK Spaceport makes a lot more sense to me as the finale of a marathon sprint than as a race course in and of itself. Most of the tracks feel like they were designed that way. I was always drawn to this style of design, since some of my favorite tracks of all time are Seven's Rainbow Road and Mount Wario. Flying up to Airship Fortress, Bowser Castle, or Great Question Block Ruins is a core part of their personality. You miss that build-up when you don't journey toward them. One of the reasons I love hanging out on those tracks in free roam is due to how high up they are, and so many tracks play into that vertigo. The sheer scale of these levels is a little harder to appreciate when you aren't driving up to them from the ground or launching back down from the sky. That's why this Rainbow Road hits so much harder than any that have come before. You start from ground level, fly into the clouds, shoot into outer space, and then blast your way back down with the whole world in view below you. If you pay attention during this glider segment, you can see tracks like Bowser Castle far in the distance. It's insane how far up this course takes you. Sure, the triumphant music helps, the train-faring memorabilia from past courses tugs at the heart, but it's this moment right here, the start of the final lap, looking down at the planet from the upper reaches of space, that I will never forget. Mario Kart's world is the heart and soul of this entry, more than any gimmick that has come before, so it was a bit alienating to see so many people force random in online lobbies all the time to ensure a 3-lap track, since the community had already decided that anything other than that is worthless. In doing so, we miss the ways in which it distinguishes itself. One of the reasons I find the online mode so fun is that you get plopped out of whatever course you ended on, and get to drive around the open world with your friends taking pictures. They're a refreshing break from the constant action. Technically they still work like this when you move from 3-lap to 3-lap, but it sees you warping across the world unnaturally. Connected courses create a seamless transition. In effect, everyone is exploring the open world together, making their own stories. When you view the game this way, I think the highways make more sense. They dictate the pacing of your race more dynamically. Races start a little slower, focusing more on throwing items everywhere, collecting coins, and trying to survive, before the final lap kicks everything into high gear, putting you on the spot and challenging you to pull off those shortcuts in a single shot. It's a more gradual buildup of tension than a normal course gives you, and they get my blood pumping exactly the same way. 24 players feel right at home on these routes, giving every racer far more room to breathe and create their own path. Embracing that philosophy, I started jumping on cars and players for extra coins, or hunting for shortcuts that don't necessarily show up on the minimap. Whether they're technically faster or not doesn't really matter so much when 23 other players are here to throw items around and drastically shake up placements. I brought that mindset into the courses themselves, taking wall rides and unnatural lines to break away from the carnage, but mostly just because I thought it was fun. Maybe part of the point of connected courses is to challenge what players want from Mario Kart. You'll recall that the spirit of the series was molded in the shadow of F-Zero to be its casual foil. My admission is that I don't particularly enjoy approaching Mario Kart with a competitive mindset. I'll have fun learning the time trials, since those are purely about player skill and nothing else, but the moment I'm on a racetrack with other players, I don't like trying to game the system. It doesn't feel good to get hit by an item or bumped off a rail by 12 other players trying to do the same thing. Instead, I stick to my own lane, laugh at the chaotic things that happen during a race, and try to clinch first place in spite of that. Mario Kart is a Sisyphean racing game. Some of these items are mean, and it will never not feel like getting hit by a fucking semi-truck whenever you fall victim to them. There are things you can do to mitigate those disasters, but you can never quite conquer that absurdity. Eventually that ball is going back down the hill, and you're gonna roll it back up again. That's not to diminish the skill and persistence it takes to keep rolling it up there. It's genuinely impressive, but at the end of the day, none of us are unbound by the fate of the blue. I suppose that's why I have the most fun surrendering myself to fate. I don't want to master Mario Kart. I want to laugh at it. World has become a game I unwind with after a long day, listening to the extraordinary remixes that are love letters to the Mario franchise, a series of games that have always felt like returning home. Driving down these open roads has been an exceedingly comfortable experience. It's been even more fun to hang out in this world with friends and bullshit around taking pictures while we wait for the next race. It's a shame this new approach doesn't quite work for so many people. Having been stuck with Mario Kart 8 for so long, I suppose I can't really blame anyone. Mario Kart has been over 3 decades of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It makes perfect sense to me. Ironically, this is precisely why I've fallen so hard for it. I was feeling Mario Kart fatigue set in when 8 came out on the Wii U. As much as I did enjoy playing it, I got sick of the courses pretty quickly when there was essentially nothing to do but race on them over and over. Didn't help that we were stuck watching Nintendo drag its corpse around for its Switch re-release and its subsequent DLC. Adding more and more to the traditional format of Mario Kart made me realize that I don't have an especially strong attachment to these games beyond childhood memories of Double Dash, Wii, and DS multiplayer. If you were to ask me my favorite, I would usually just shrug and say 8, since it was the most recent one with the most stuff in it. Not exactly my strongest commendation. Mario Kart World is not better than Mario Kart 8, per se. Its goals are not the same. 8 is all about the track design, where World asks you to look beyond it. Imagine more. A mode like Knockout Tour is something I could never have envisioned before. The tension you feel when you're just about to make the top cut is palpable. That final 4-person race almost always gives me a fucking heart attack after how much build-up there is trying to survive the chaos. I guess I find that novelty much more refreshing than stuffing it back into the same tired box. It's okay that y'all like the box, but clearly the artists do not want this box anymore. When a series has been running this long, I think it's easy to take it for granted. Everyone always knows a new Mario Kart is coming, and we almost always know what it's gonna look like. We become comfortable with that rhythm. We seek the familiar, even if it yearns to be more. Mario Kart World has recaptured that childlike love I used to have for these games. But it's also much more than they ever were, and all of it stems from the open road that it wholeheartedly embraces.